My husband overheard me tell my friend I know he settled for me and doesn't find me attractive. Now he's acting lower than my self-esteem and I don't know how to help. So, I have a friend, let's call her Anna, and she is an incredibly beautiful woman, and she could have her pick of men whenever she wanted to. She recently broke up with her boyfriend because she was out of his league, and he knew it too because he would act in insecure ways. Anna said that she didn't want to settle for someone less than the best, and she asked me why anyone would settle and brought up my marriage as a positive example of love. For context, my husband Alan and I are happily married high school sweethearts. He was heavily bullied in middle and high school, and when I moved into his hometown in sophomore year, I stood up for him. By the end of senior year, he had people he could call friends, and he asked me to prom. 10 years later, we are still happily married. However, I know that my husband doesn't find me attractive. I'm naturally taller and more muscular than the average woman, and it's a huge insecurity of mine. A year after we married, my husband drunkenly confessed that he didn't find me attractive. He prefers petite women with delicate facial features. But he was grateful for what I did and felt obliged to thank me, which is why he asked me out to prom, why we dated throughout college, and why he proposed. He still loved me very much but wasn't attracted to me. The next morning, he was hungover and had forgotten his confession. He doesn't drink much because he doesn't have a filter and tells the unvarnished truth. I felt crushed, but our marriage was very good otherwise. I never told him what he said that night. I don't think most men are attracted to the way I look anyway, and he was still a great husband to me. So being settled for isn't the worst thing in the world, and we're both happy. I explained all of this to Anna, and she was grateful for the advice. That night, Alan started crying. He was crying silently, but I woke up. I hugged him and asked what was wrong, and he admitted he overheard our conversation. I didn't expect him to overhear since I was in the basement, but he heard his name and decided to listen in. I apologized for hurting his feelings, but it just made him sob harder. I don't know what I did wrong or if I did anything wrong. Update 1. Hello, I'm back with a short update. I received a lot of messages on my post last week, and it was a bit overwhelming. I want to say I am a people pleaser not just for my husband, but also for my friends and family. I want them to be happy. I love my husband and want the best for him. We had sessions of couples therapy, and he now has a personal therapist. It was surprisingly easy to find someone who suited us, but I did pay a lot of money for our sessions, and they left me feeling baffled. Our counselor was a no-nonsense but comforting older woman. We went through our life, discussing how he was bullied, how we met, how we married, and our careers. I told her about how he had drunkenly told me he wasn't attracted to me, but that didn't matter because we loved each other, and I didn't know what made him upset. She asked us honestly if we wouldn't be happier as best friends but married to other people. Alan adamantly said no. She brought up affection, bedroom life, those things. We told her we had an active bedroom life with a couple of quirks and were very affectionate, etc., which she focused on. She basically said someone is lying at some point because you can't have all of those things together. She asked Alan to walk through his attraction, and he snapped and said he didn't want to talk about having disgusting or bad thoughts about me. It was a very long conversation afterward, and I'm still confused, but essentially he thought that anyone lusting or having those kinds of thoughts about me was bad, especially other people. He loved me for me. It wasn't even about me being his wife or me being a woman, or those common things. He thought anyone who had thoughts about me was bad and I should be protected from them. Alan told the counselor that I was too soft, gentle, and pure to think that there are bad thoughts about me and bad people. I've never heard that before from anyone. I told our counselor that nothing bad has happened to me. I was worried if Alan had trauma in his past that made him wary of others since he had been bullied so viciously in school, but he said that I was thinking of him again and I should think about myself. He said I still didn't realize that the world is scary for me. The counselor asked about any guilt he felt about attraction, and he broke down. A couple of years ago, I had intensive surgery, and Alan helped me with everything, even eating, showering, and getting around. He confessed that when he helped me with bathing or dressing, he accidentally looked more than he should have, and he could feel that I was starting to realize he was having those thoughts about me and shut down. I don't really remember that, but he's my husband. I didn't and don't mind if he looks. He talked about how much he loves me and wants to spend the rest of his life with me. My counselor said I have grown up to think of others' wants and desires above my own, and I do have people-pleasing tendencies, but on the whole, I'm pretty mentally healthy. I got a few booklets and packets to fill out. My husband was told he needed intensive therapy as soon as possible, and he had his first session a few days ago. I don't know where this is going or what happened to make him think the way he does. He didn't grow up in a religious environment, and his parents are very affectionate and have a strong marriage. I still love and support my husband. Update 2. Hello everyone, I am back with some updates on my situation from 6 months ago. My husband and I still go to marriage counseling, but he quit therapy because he said it made him worse. We found out a lot during therapy. Much of his trauma came from school, where he was brutally bullied. The adults turned a blind eye, his friends abandoned him, and he couldn't tell his parents. So he felt alone until I arrived. I was well liked, and because I protected him, the bullies stopped, and people were nice to him again. He loved me and saw me as his savior. The problem was his mental state wasn't good. I think my husband was in the process of being diagnosed, but he has intrusive thoughts. I've always been taller and more muscular than other kids and treated as older. I'm still obviously female, just one that's naturally taller in stature. With beauty standards emphasizing small and thin, I always felt weird about my body, but that doesn't stop creepy men, and it didn't stop teenage boys. His bullies made comments about me that are degrading but not atypical for cruel teenage boys. Some of what they said matched his thoughts because they were normal thoughts, intrusive thoughts, or just fantasies. He had a lot of fantasies and a lot of intrusive thoughts about me. It confirmed to him that people have bad thoughts about me, and he is just as bad, but the difference was he could control it, so he made a decision not to be attracted to me. He said the more he got to know me, the more pure and precious I seemed, and the less he could let the rot in. He had to keep me safe because the world would destroy me. The comments he made when he was drunk were ones of deep denial, trying to reassure me that he didn't have disgusting thoughts about me. That does explain some things about how my husband behaves around me, especially in the bedroom, and it also explains why he's very protective of me. He's always been an adoring husband, which is at odds with someone who is not attracted to me. The bathtub memory affected him a lot because he could rationalize a lot of things, but for the first time, I was vulnerable physically and in need of his help, and his fantasies and intrusive thoughts got worse. Some of the therapy was to try to get me off the pedestal, but it didn't really work, and his intrusive thoughts got worse. He said he had to quit, and I supported him. He told me some of his fantasies, and some were normal, and some were disturbing. I told him that I loved and trusted him. Our marriage is strong, and I will stay by his side and help him.